hours from the capital, Tallahassee. It was a 90-minute drive from Daytona Beach to the east, and from the Gulf of Mexico to the west, and about 2 hours from Orlando, which was nothing until Mr. Disney decided to move there in the 70s. Gainesville's saving grace was the University of Florida, which for some reason chose to base itself there in 1905, bringing in thousands of people. Hogtown Creek was never the same. The climate was hot and swampy, the air thick with mosquitoes. In the winter, it was dispiritingly cold and wet. But it was the kind of place where homeowners never had to lock their doors. Crime was virtually non-existent. Held in a sort of rose-tinted time warp, it was populated by good, wholesome folks who bred decent kids with strong moral values, helped along by a little healthy Bible thumping. The Yearling, with Gregory Peck and Jane Wyman, always reminds me of my hometown, with its sugary apple pie sweetness. It came as no surprise that Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, the author of The Yearling and other novels, grew up just outside Gainesville. My parents, Charles Nolan Felder and Doris Brigman, first met on a blind date in 1933, when they were in their 20s. They stepped out for 5 years, literally walking during their courting because there was no gasoline for Dad's old Chevrolet during the Depression. Their weekly routine was to stroll downtown to Louie's Diner, still there today, for a 25-cent hamburger and a strawberry milkshake, before heading off to the Lyric Theater to watch one of the new talking movies starring the likes of Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. My mother's family were so poor that she and my grandmother actually shared a pair of shoes, Mom borrowing them once a week to wear to Bible school on Sunday. Such poverty often breeds ill health, and Grandma Caroline died of heart failure when Mom was just 9 years old, forcing her to drop out of school to care for her father, her older brother Buddy, and her 2-year-old sister Kate. Dad was of German origin. His ancestors settled in America after riding the trail to Hogtown Creek from North Carolina. They looked like something out of an old Western, bearded, with hats and rifles, and with coon dogs lying lazily at their feet. Dad was the eldest of 4 children abandoned by their mother after she became a chronic epileptic. He was raised by his devout father, who used discipline and the Bible to browbeat his children into submission. After several years of dating, my father decided on New Year's Day, 1938, to take Doris as his wife. They were in Daytona Beach, and to celebrate he bought a bottle of sparkling wine, a rare moment of frivolity. He was 28 years old, and she was 5 years his junior. With his 2 best friends, Jim Spell and Sam Dunn, and their girlfriends, they drove to the town of Trenton at 10 o'clock that night and woke up the justice of the peace. "We want to get married," they told the bleary-eyed magistrate. He kindly obliged. They spent their wedding night at the Central Hotel in Gainesville, before going back to their respective homes until they could find a place of their own. That fall, Dad started working on a building plot he'd acquired at 217 Northwest 19th Lane, Gainesville, right next to the house he grew up in, using his meager savings to pay for the lumber and supplies he needed. The house was built on concrete blocks with wood framing, designed to circulate cool air underneath and stop snakes and alligators from crawling in. Standing on the edge of a dirt road, surrounded by Florida scrub known as palm meadows, it was flanked at the back by a swampy lake with Spanish moss hanging from the trees. Grandpa Felder helped him with the construction, as did Mom, and so did Jim Spell, who lived next door. My parents moved into a white clapboard shell with a tin roof, identical to Grandpa's house. They added to it over the years, installing some inside walls to make 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, and a bathroom. Dad was always so proud of the fact that he'd built his home with his own hands. For his entire life, he toiled as a mechanic at Copper's, a factory 4 blocks away at Northwest 23rd Avenue, which pressure-treated wood for telephone poles and the railroads. Recently felled trees were brought in by the trainload, and huge machines lifted them onto conveyor belts leading to a giant lathe that peeled off the bark and spat out skinned poles.